Yes.
for spreading hatred.
Was reported by somebody.
In certain countries they have been banned.
Today it was also in Wales. Welcome to this edition of the weekly dialogues in Jaipur Dialogues. Today I have with me a very eminent lawyer, Ishkaran Singh Bhandari. You must have seen him very often in the TV debates, and you also must have come across the many cases that he argues in the Supreme Court and in the Delhi High Court and many other courts as well. And today I have Ishkaran Singh Bhandari on a very topical issue. That topical issue is regarding the freedom to use and the freedom to sport religious symbols. Let me tell everyone the context. The context is that we have seen that over the last week or so, there have been many cases. I think one was by the Cyberabad police in Telangana, in Hyderabad metropolitan area. There was another one in Jamshedpur, and there was a third one in Nalanda. And of course, yesterday it was also in Meerut, where another vendor who was putting up a saffron flag on his vegetable cart was reported by somebody. But Meerut police was smart. All they did was that they went and checked his license, found his license in order, and they promptly informed the complainant on Twitter itself that there is no basis to your complaint and the person has all the requisite legal requirements fulfilled, and therefore we cannot do anything with it. This brings us to the flagrant, I would say, misinterpretation as far as the Article 25, which grants us the freedom to profess our conscience and the freedom to profess our religious beliefs is concerned. We've seen this in a number of cases. We have this debate that goes on as far as the recognition of denomination is concerned. And we have that famous Shirur Mutt case, which is some kind of a Bible to everybody. But then even there, that basic distinction between sampradaya as we understand in the Indian tradition and denomination as it is understood in the common law is concerned. And the Constitution basically recognizes the common law even there. Similarly, we are finding that over here, when it comes to the freedom to sport the religious symbols, there is a subtle and not so subtle discrimination at work. Article 25, as I understand, I'll in fact just read it out for the audience. What Article 25 says. It is titled Freedom of Conscience and Free Profession, Practice and Propagation of Religion. And sub-article 1, that the first part of this article is most important, says that subject to public order, morality and health, and to the other provisions of this part. Now, that makes Article 25 a second-class article. And in spite of this, when we have the freedom to expression, and Article 25 is expressly made subject to the freedom of expression, Article 19, the equality provisions of Article 14 to 17, and in spite of this, we find these kind of egregious events and incidents taking place across the board, across the country. Of course, I'm not even indicating as to what has been happening as far as the other communities are concerned. And this has happened only in case of the majority community in India. So how do you look at this, Ishkaran?
Thank you for calling me, Sanjay ji. It's we are all on social media, and we have to be now because the world's changing. Off topic, I think it's
better.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm saying it's probably changing for the better.
It is. I think it's the biggest change since World War II in how the world will change. That is my reading of it. But coming to the topic, if one puts it in layman terms, because your audience a lot of would be laymen, It is, I was thinking the other day, a very peculiar situation. A Hindu was to make a complaint on a particular color flag associated with a particular community being put on a fruit seller, you know what would happen? He would be booked under 295A for spreading communal hatred. He definitely would be booked under 295A if somebody went on social media and tweeted that this person is flying a flag belonging to this particular religion on his fruit cart. He would be booked under 295A, 153A, and would be ostracized as being a communal bigot who does not allow minorities to even fly a color they want to fly. He is a fascist. He wants to decide what color would a person of that religion fly. Then the next question would come, we cannot wear a shirt of that color. We cannot wear a garment of that color. We cannot wear anything of that color. And you are a nation of fascists. And you will have an editorial in New York Times and Washington Post saying color fascism by bigots. I am telling you, if anybody else was to do this, that is what would happen if somebody objected to a color of some other religion.
We've seen that. We've seen that happening. We've seen that some people have even gone and they attacked Kuwait and UAE and other people. And
yes,
only highlighting the facts about the Tablighi Jamat has earned so many people, I think almost 1 million people. They tag
and now the strange part is where somebody else complains on somebody flying a saffron flag. I'm not even getting into Article 25 or 14 or 19 or even 21 for that matter. The complaint is on and the FIR is on the person flying the flag. So basically, chit bhi meri, pat bhi mera, aur khada sikka bhi mera. That is the sad situation. That is exactly what, beyond law, in common sense, that is the situation we are today facing. And that's a very serious situation. And I would tell you personal experience. This fruit seller in Jamshedpur, which became very famous, Rajkumar ji, who had written Hindu Phal Dukan.
Right.
So somebody contacted me saying, ye galt ho raha hai. So I said, firstly, I took it not even like a serious news. I said, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, इतना थोड़ी ना प्रशासन, क्या मतलब एक हिंदू फल दुकान लिखी है, हमारे हर जगह पे लिखा हुआ है इस्लामिक होटल और मुगल ढाबा और पंजाबी ढाबा और जैन ढाबा और एनीथिंग, राइट? तो ये तो मेरे को लगा कोई फेक न्यूज टाइप है. So I then tweeted that अगर कुछ हो रहा है ऐसा, he can contact me and I will help him out. एक दिन बाद, अब सोशल मीडिया की पावर है, Rajkumar calls me up. He got my number and he called me.
Okay.
Saying कि ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है, 107 का मुकदमा है, और उससे भी बदतर ये है, I have got 200 phone calls from, and he recorded the numbers, took screenshots of the number and he had messages to him कि मुझे धमकियां आ रही.
Okay.
और सारे नंबर आपको पता है कहाँ के हैं, बाहर के.
वो तो एक पूरा एक नेक्सस बना हुआ है, तुरंत आने शुरू हो जाते हैं, धमकियां आनी शुरू हो जाती हैं, तरह तरह के मैसेज आ जाते हैं, और न सिर्फ उस बंदे को आते हैं बल्कि उसके आसपास के रिश्तेदारों को भी आने शुरू हो जाते हैं.
तो मुझे कांटेक्ट किया, तो मैंने झारखंड पुलिस को टैग किया. मैंने कहा ये तो आप एक हिंदू फल दुकान पे आप केस कर रहे थे, यहाँ पे ऑन रिकॉर्ड ऑन मैसेज धमकियां हैं. मैंने पोलाइटली बोला एज अ लॉयर, मैंने कहा प्लीज आप इस पे एक्शन लीजिए, ये तो ऑन रिकॉर्ड डॉक्यूमेंटेड चीज है, इसमें कोई बहस नहीं है. So thankfully good sense prevailed. They replied to me, झारखंड पुलिस replied to me कि हमने मैटर का संज्ञान ले लिया और आवश्यक कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं. And next day they registered a case also on 1 or 2 people who had made the calls, what they could find out, and that came in the Jharkhand papers. But that raises a very big question. You are just saying Hindu फल दुकान. You are not saying कि मैं किसी और को नहीं बेचूंगा. You are not saying I will ostracize and not let you be customers. That could be some discrimination angles. You are only saying I am proudly this. I am doing this. That is all. See, two angles. And supposing I'm taking a slightly bigger angle. If somebody said I am this and I will exclude anybody else from access to this as a fruit shop, or I will not let anybody have access to this restaurant. That could be a gray area debate. Right of private entry versus discrimination, वो एक gray area debate हो सकता है. ये कैसे डिबेट हो सकता है कि मैं आप मुझसे फल लेने आ रहे हो, मैं आपको रोक नहीं रहा, सिर्फ मैं ये बोल रहा हूं कि मैं ये हूं. दैट इज लाइक सेइंग आई मेक फूड बाय हलाल प्रोसेस. आप लेने आ रहे हो, आप लो, आपकी मर्जी, आप हलाल ले रहे हो, जो हमारे देश में सारे ले रहे हैं. इनफैक्ट हमारे देश में तो फोर्सेबली ले रहे हैं, बिकॉज लोग ओनली हलाल बेचते हैं और लोग ले रहे हैं, नॉलेज भी नहीं है.
इसके अलावा ये जो हलाल वाला एंगल जो आप लाए हैं, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंगल. इसमें क्या हो रहा है कि बहुत सारी दुकानें खड़ी हो गई हलाल सर्टिफिकेशन, और वो दुकानों पे जाती हैं और उनको एक इनडायरेक्ट तरीके से कोर्स करती हैं कि अगर तुम हलाल सर्टिफिकेशन नहीं कराओगे तो वी विल इंश्योर कि तुम्हारे यहाँ से कोई मुसलमान सामान नहीं खरीदे. इस तरह की एक बड़ी सटल सी और नॉट सो सटल coercion process is also taking place. Luckily, people have got wise to it, and it does not extend only to meat. It is now going into cosmetics. It is going into your vegetables, fruits, all sort of things. It is extending to. And I'll just flag you to an article by Anan Talib, where he has compared this situation with the kosher process that takes place in the US. And the heading of that article, I think I will request my listeners, my audience who join me, that please check that out. Just Google "The Most Intolerant Wins" by N.N. Talib. N.N. Talib, of course, is a genius. If you have not heard of him, please do Google and look at this article. So this most intolerant wins. Why this happens is because the tolerant majority is not objecting. If you do not object to intolerance, then you are condemned to get into what is called the Karl Popper Paradox. That if you allow intolerance, if you do not object to intolerance, ultimately tolerance would be finished. So that Karl Popper Paradox, what I mentioned, this particular article, that all of you people, what I do is that I will tag these articles in the comment section, so all of you can read. But this is very important. What is important is that when you see intolerance, you must flag it. Let me have your views on this.
I absolutely agree with you. See, there is this creeping route of accusation, which a lot of institutions do. What they do is just keep pushing the boundary 1 centimeter at a time, right, then 1 inch at a time, and then 1 meter at a time, and then suddenly you realize the entire kilometer has been taken over. So this creeping route of accusation, which a lot of people do, is something, and especially there are some very global majorities who become minority when it suits them, become majority when it suits them, like the classical case of this Delhi Minorities Commission's chairman, when he says, I will bring an avalanche to you.
Yes.
What is he suggesting? He is saying that I have the resources outside of your nation, which will come and fight for us, support us. That is basically what he's threatening India with. And right, for a change, the government has done a fast sedition case on him.
Yes.
So he's openly,
case, but whether he will get the prosecution sanction or not.
See, they can do what they can do. Then rest is for the public to judge. Yes. Rest is for we are in a democracy. Let the public judge whether Delhi chief minister, where somebody is threatening that I will bring an avalanche from the Arab world, and you don't want him to be prosecuted. It's a democracy. Let people judge a person who doesn't give a sanction for this. And that is why social media is there. हम आज बात कर रहे हैं, आपकी audience सुन रही है ये. They are listening to it, that he gives sanction or not. And that is the democratic process. But the point is that where you play this minority card to get more and more and more for yourself, that is a very dangerous situation for anybody to be in, because in fact, I have a problem with Minorities Commission also. I would like in here. we understood what happened with separate electorates in 46.
Right.
When independence came, we had a unified electorate.
Right.
We have unified elections, no religious reservations.
Right. Right.
By having people from a particular minority overwhelmingly heading minority commissions, are you not in a way creating a separate representation? Why can, if you are prime minister, who's the fountainhead, can be from one religion, the sub departments, a monopoly on a sub department is to me a very perverted practice, because you are effectively doing is you are saying that this department which will deal with minority can only be looked after by a minority, as if the majority is out to grab your rights and cannot be trusted. The signaling is cannot be trusted. So then if you have one special zone, why should that special zone not extend to election? Or what they wanted in Kashmir. So I, as a fundamental level, have a problem. I will have to check whether I think it's reserved in law only, but for any minority commission. But why should that be there? So why this exclusive zones being created, which is very dangerous, this exclusive zones, exclusive rights, exclusive voices, exclusive people who will do well for you. That signaling, that tendency, and that acceptance without debating it is a very dangerous trend.
I agree, because it is quite perverse to think that other people cannot think of the welfare of people who are other than them. But I remember in Rajasthan, what has happened is that I remember at least 2 or 3 occasions, the chairman of the minorities commissions have been Sikhs. And not just that, even in the backward commission, this kind of a system has developed, where only somebody belonging to a backward caste can be a member of the backward commission. But we had a situation where majority members of the backward commission in Rajasthan were from the so-called forward castes, and they did an excellent job. Oh, if the majority cannot take care of its minorities, then I think it is quite obtuse for a minority to think that they can have some kind of a special identity, an enclave kind of a thing within a majority, and do very well. It doesn't happen. In fact, I remember a Constitution Committee when this minority question was being discussed in the Constituent Assembly. Sardar Patel said exactly that. And he said, you know what, something that probably today nobody would dare say that. But he said that if a minority can achieve partition, then what kind of minority status is it demanding? Just imagine, this is a minority which says that we are very, very well organized, we are globally linked, and we have managed to carve out a separate state. And most of the people who were in the vanguard of that movement of carving out that separate state stayed behind. In fact, he pointed out to the members of the Constituent Assembly elected from the Muslim constituencies of Madras state, all 4 of them were there in the Constituent Assembly, and they were supporting a motion for separate electorate in the independent Indian state.
Creeping root, see, demands, if you are not firm in squashing, see, I have, even before 370, my fundamental point is, firstly, we will not divert to debate, because that's a very big debate, that should minority be classified as people who are pan-India below 10% or irrespective of number of 5%. See, minority has to be a minority.
Yes.
It cannot be a dominant portion which you keep on calling minority. For example, let's take a company, most publicly traded company, big companies, people have absolute control at only 10-12% shareholding also globally. In fact, not even that, sometimes 6% shareholding, and they are effectively running the company at 6%, 5%. So beyond a particular point, when your percentage as a whole is very high, you have no differences or distinction from a majority. I understand Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, there is a logic, there is a rhyme, there is a reason as an additional protection. But for some where the numbers have become so overwhelming, there a debate, but in today's India, a genuine debate is also a very dangerous thing, because at every step we have criminal cases being filed. At every step we have people who want to outrage, and there is a what this famous New York case calls about chilling effect. What happened in Jharkhand, for example? A normal fruit seller who has faced a difficulty because of flag, that has a chilling effect on other people from doing it. Chilling effect was very eloquently described as when the action is taken so that it chills you, scares you from doing the same thing again. So on speech, if you register a case on somebody, you are basically sending a message to society that भैया ये boundaries हैं, इस boundary के अंदर आप रहना, and you are chilling them from effectively speaking again because आप उनको डरा रहे हो. See, nobody यहाँ पे normal person wants to make his bread, butter, get on with life. He is petrified of police. He is petrified of a case. He is not having time to have even a notice from a local constable. So your chilling effect is by registering, and that was in case of New York Times versus Sullivan. The court said that if the government takes actions, or you don't allow a person to speak, or you restrict a person from speaking, you are preventing future speech. You are chilling future speech. So these actions are not only stopping current thing, they are chilling future speeches, which is a very dangerous trend. And I sometimes fear that is why it is being done. That is why it's being done. A strategy of harassment, intimidation. What needs to be seen in this debate, which you have conversation we're having today, is how come suddenly from Jharkhand to Thane, where somebody refused to accept delivery of food, he says because the person who brought food did not look hygienic. The person who says he rejected because of my religion. To Hyderabad, to Nanded, we are having 153A, 295A complaints being made across cities. I actually want to understand, is that a coincidence, or does it require an investigation that somebody has set up a group or a trust or a fund and is providing legal support to do this at an organized level? Because how is it suddenly that we have had multiple cities with multiple similar complaints using 153A, 295A? Is it some brains at work? That is why I tweeted a few days ago and it got a overwhelming response. I didn't expect such a great response because people were tagging help karo. I said, I will set up a legal team, and those who want to volunteer pro bono, I can do the drafting work, supervision work, my office can do it, but on ground you file, so you have a safety that what you are filing is safe and is good and is legal, and I know that people on ground will take it forward, because a lot of stuff has to be done in Gurgaon on ground. Nanded mein hona hai, Jamshedpur mein hona hai, Hyderabad mein hona hai. Frankly, not possible to do it for anybody. You need to have a team of nationalists pro bono. It got I was expecting, honestly Sanjay ji, 10-15 log volunteer karenge, vakil hain, 6 saal padhe hain. It got more than 600 people filled the application.
Yes,
I had to stop my team.
I saw that.
I had to release a form. Now I think it's almost 700 people have filled it. So after lockdown, I'll go ahead with that. Because I think it's a strategic decision to file these complaints in so many cities. And just last thing I will say on this, James Bond ki movie mein bahut achhi line hai. First time is a happenstance, ho gaya. Second time is a coincidence. Third time it's enemy action. Yahan to 10 bari ho gaya. It needs a deeper investigation.
Actually, this is, according to me, what I look at this situation is that it is definitely, as you said, it has happened many times, so it cannot be taken as a coincidence. It has to be taken as, what do you say, enemy action. In that sense, I mean, not exactly in those terms, but metaphorically. But also what is important is that you look at the resistance that came from same quarters or similar quarters to the universal condemnation of the Tablighi Jamat and their actions and their perversions. So definitely this is no coincidence, and it is some kind of, I would say, pushback.
And that is why I see even Tablighi Jamat, to a degree, that needs a very deep investigation. How, after Shaheen Bagh was already boiling, we are allowing so many fundamentalists to enter our country. See, we have, because of coronavirus, completely forgotten Shaheen Bagh. And that's a memory. That's an institutional problem. Some communities have institutional memories. Some do not have institutional memories. Shaheen Bagh was every day. I remember every day I would go on TV debates. It was Shaheen Bagh. एक time पे बोर हो गए थे कि आंखें बंद करके आप बोल सकते थे कि ये हुआ है, ये हुआ है, ये हुआ है. वो 100 दिन debate चला है. If you see any news channel, I think from December end till Delhi elections, it was daily 5 debates. वो topic ही नहीं था. एक आध विरला दिन कुछ और हुआ हो तो हुआ हो. उस माहौल में शाहीन बाग के, nobody knew when it will end or it could spread worse. These people came in a similar time zone. How did these many people who are absolute fundamentalists, who have been banned in certain countries, not India, certain countries they have been banned, and those are Muslim majority countries, they have been banned. Kazakhstan, they have been banned. Uzbekistan, they have been banned. One more of these stans of
even Indonesia restricted them. I think they threw them out after 1 or 2 days.
But leave everything else. Pakistan has stopped their access, not now, 1 or 2 years ago, to universities and armed force installations. So, and they threw them, all of them staying in hostels, out. So when this organization globally is obviously fundamentalist, that is why Muslim majority nations are also pushing back on them or taking actions on them. How did this organization and its members come into India during the time of Shaheen Bagh? Similarly, how are these complaints being filed across cities, basically the same sections of law, and frankly, some are blaming police. I say you make enough complaints to police, local influence. We all know how police registers cases. A reasonable local person goes, it is broadly fitting in the definition of the section. थोड़े 2-4 वकील ने वर्ड ट्विस्ट करे, आजकल कंप्लेनेंट भी समझदार हैं, 2-4 वर्ड ट्विस्ट करे, ब्रॉडली फिट हो रहा है और लोकल प्रेशर है तो काम हो जाए. That is what we are facing, and that needs a very broad investigation, because it is civilizational battles are fought on multiple fronts, and this is a front which has clearly been opened. In my view, I might be reading more into it than is required, or I might be reading less into it than is required. We do not know what is there, but I see it as a matter of serious concern.
I think we will end this conversation on that point of broad agreement. It is definitely a very, very serious situation, and we need to look at it, and we need to go into it in some depth. And as you said, it does merit an investigation. At what level that investigation will ultimately take place remains to be seen. But that is something with the power of the social media and the internet. We need to keep pushing, we need to keep pressing, and we have to make it known that this is an issue which is important to this country, which is important to the society, and this, not just that, this is important to this civilization. Thank you very much, Ishkaran, for coming on Jaipur Dialogues today. And we will continue these discussions, and we'll frame them in the legal context, and we will continue this in future as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.